at Chicago's O'Hare Airport at 7:51.
Market players process new information on the direction of politics after last night's debate.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Total Wine and More. Total Wine and More, helping shoppers love what they find at TotalWine.com. Spirits not sold in Virginia or North Carolina. Drink responsibly. Be 21.
I'm David Brancaccio. The rule of thumb in the investing world is that market players do not like uncertainty. Question this morning is whether there is more or less of it with regards to the next president of the United States after a rough night for President Biden on stage next to former President Trump. I spoke to Christopher Lowe, chief economist at FHN Financial in New York.
Good morning, David.
What would you say Wall Street professionals are doing on a morning like this? Are they pricing in an extension of the Trump-era tax cuts that had been set to expire, or what?
I think that the take seems to be there's maybe more important stuff from a market standpoint going on this year. The indications the economy maybe is losing a little steam, inflation is slowing down, and, the repercussions of more hope for a soft landing.
Something more practical, more tangible, the prices we pay. We're getting an important indicator of that. Personal consumption expenditures. Sounds like a mouthful, but it's what our central bankers like to watch.
That's right. And it should be a really benign number because we already have CPI, which was benign. We have producer prices, which also looked pretty good. It looks like companies have lost some of the aggressive pricing power they had earlier in the year, and they're backing off a bit.
Christopher Lowe, chief economist, FHN Financial. Always good to check in.
Thanks, David.
We now have that key measure of inflation. It came in right on forecast just now. Personal consumption expenditures, excluding volatile food and energy. That index rose just 0.1% April to May, the smallest increase in about 2.5 years. Prices overall using this measure were up 2.6% in a year. Stocks S&P futures are up 0.2%. NASDAQ futures up 0.3%.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Amazon Business. From small business to big enterprise and everything in between, Amazon Business helps simplify the supplies buying process. Amazon Business, your partner for smart business buying. And by What Happened in Alabama, a new investigative podcast that delves into personal and historical experiences of intergenerational trauma in the Black community. Available in your podcast app.
Now to the future of Social Security. Last night during the debate, former President Trump said without evidence that President Biden will endanger Social Security. Here's Biden.
The biggest thing I'll do if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security.
In an interview with CNBC back in March, Trump had said there is a lot you can do for, quote, cutting Social Security. The campaign later said the comment was about cutting waste and fraud. Later in last night's debate, Trump worked to draw a line between Biden immigration policy and pressures on entitlement programs.
But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid.
This week here, we've been looking at how Social Security is okay for about another 10 years, but then things come a cropper, and it'll take higher taxes or lower benefits to keep the system sound. Marketplace's Kimberly Adams has more now on how a Social Security crunch back in the 1980s may offer some guidance.
It's April 20th, 1983. Dexy's Midnight Runners is at the top of the radio charts. And at the White House, President Ronald Reagan is signing a law to save Social Security.
Just a few months ago, there was legitimate alarm that Social Security would soon run out of money. On both sides of the political aisle, there were dark suspicions that opponents from the other party were more interested in playing politics than in solving the problem.
But they pulled together a bipartisan commission, buckled down, and at the last minute made a deal. Jennifer Urkelwater teaches political science at the University of Richmond.
They really did kind of like run up to the very deadline before Social Security was going to run out of money for benefits. Nothing like a deadline to create that sense of crisis.
To fix the program, lawmakers made some changes that are on the table now.
They did raise taxes. They did lower benefits by raising the retirement age.
Doug Arnold is author of the book Fixing Social Security, The Politics of Reform in a Polarized Age.
And they put Social Security on the path to solvency for decades and decades. But it literally was within a few months of running out of revenue. And I believe the same thing will happen in 2035.
But some of the fixes back in 1983 were one-time solutions, says Charles Blahhouse at the Mercatus Center.
They exposed benefits to income taxation for the first time. They brought in all new federal employees to pay payroll taxes into the system for the first time. That's obviously not something we can do again because it's already been done.
Another difference between then and now, says Blahhouse, baby boomers are retiring and there are fewer workers paying into the system. So the gap between payroll taxes coming in and Social Security benefits going out has been widening for years.
So now if you wait till the 2030s and say, okay, let's try to fix the trust fund at the last minute, well, you can't do that anymore because by then the annual shortfall is so large that there's no realistic way you could close it.
Plus, there's a pretty big generational imbalance, says Jennifer Urkelwater at the University of Richmond.
The ratio of working age people to support each retiree is shrinking. And so it places a heavier and heavier burden on each individual working aged person.
And the longer Congress waits to find a solution to that problem of the future, the closer it gets to repeating a crisis of the past. In Washington, I'm Kimberly Adams for Marketplace.
And it wasn't just a pandemic thing. It could stay hard finding people to hire in America. A new report from the McKinsey Global Institute predicts the worker shortage, which is an expensive hassle for companies, but helps workers get better wages and benefits, is likely to persist. A lot of this are baby boomers aging out of the workforce, sharply increasing available jobs per available worker. McKinsey sees artificial intelligence as a possible way to get jobs done with the workers we have, but despite all the AI excitement these days, it is a technology that needs to prove its usefulness. I'm David Brancaccio. It's the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media,